So welcome. We're going to be talking about the super fun and exciting world of digital signatures, which in this day and age with what's going on right now is a great time, to be honest, to implement these systems that you may have never thought that you'd ever use or need. And I've been doing them for a long time. I'm Darcey Edwards with Edwards Realty Trust, and I have a real estate company, but I also do business coaching as well. And so I use these and implement them in that practice as well. And so hopefully in this webinar, or whatever you want to call it, this meeting, we can kind of learn how to implement digital signatures and make your business kind of grow in this new economy that's evolving. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, share my screen. You can see all the wonderful stuff I have. It's not pretty, but it works. So let's see. Show. I have to admit people. So I'm doing this all at the same time. Okay, there we go. So we're going to talk about today, I call it Digital Contracts 101, and why going digital now can move your business forward. I've been using digital contracts my whole entire career of being in real estate, over 8 years, and have had, I think on one hand I can count 3 times that I've actually used paper contracts in 8 years. So it's the wave of the future and it's already here, but this is a great time to implement that. What we're going to talk about is the type of industries that could really benefit from having a digital contract ready to go. So the reason we have these isn't necessarily just because, you know, it's cool to have your contracts online. It's really a customer service question. And so everything in your business, of course, is always going to be customer service driven, or should be. Some of the industries that maybe are coming along into this a little bit later is the hands-on industries. So that's your massage therapist, your physical therapist, a photographers. If you're doing anything where you would meet with people in real life to actually do the service. Hairdressers, this is actually great for them as well. This is a great way to get that pre-booking appointments in. You can send them, when they go to schedule with you, send them the contract, or this is the scope of work that's going to be done, this is the date, this is the time, this is about the amount, and they can accept that, sign that, and then have it go into their prepayment program so that those people can get their payment, or at least like a deposit on those services, which will cut down on people canceling or changing appointments. Because once people, we all know this, once people have skin in the game, they're less likely to change, or if it's going to cost them to change that appointment, they will stick with it. And so that's, I can see the future of this. I've had it where people, I've gone to a massage therapist and they're like, or a chiropractor, and they're like, okay, fill out all these forms. If I could have filled them out online, you know, a couple days before I got there, I wouldn't have had to sit in the waiting room and come and adjust my schedule to come 15 or 20 minutes early. So if there's a way you can do that and just cut that hassle out, it's going to make you look more progressive, and you're meeting your clients where they are. I'm one of those people that I like to do all my stuff online. I like to do it fast. I don't really want to be bothered sitting there doing paperwork. Another industry that is actually coming more online, and it came up the other day, is in the insurance world. My husband owns an insurance company, and they've been using digital signatures the whole time that they've been in business. And they had a system, or they had a situation come up. My daughter actually was with a different company and needed to switch some things around. And they told her she has to come in and sign the paperwork. Well, that's beautiful. That was 4 weeks ago before we were quarantined. So I can't imagine how they're doing business now if they didn't have that implemented, where they can do digital signatures and do that before. I can't imagine how they're doing business now. So now is a perfect time to get on board with being able to do the contracts again. Another industry that I see is coming up with this is, again, with the insurance, you can, or any other business, if you're doing business across state lines, it helps keep all that kind of separate. It's also, again, very time saving for your clients, and they feel like you're looking out for their best interest, that their time's not being wasted, them driving, you know, an hour or two, you know, in what would have been traffic to get to your location to sign your form. Again, I see this coming as being kind of the way the future in accounting and legal and tax areas. So like my tax guy, every single thing is online. I upload all my documents to him. He looks at it. He'll ask me questions in his app, I guess, and I sign things as I go. So I'm not sitting there. He doesn't, I mean, if it's something very important, he'll call me, but for the most part, it's able to just get that business done quickly. And to be honest, it looks super professional. When you're coming with somebody with a contract and it has your logo on it and they have to sign it, they get a copy of it. So it keeps that professionalism, like you're on the edge of technology at all times and able to provide that service. It actually brings in a trustworthiness, I believe. So what do you need when you're looking for the right digital contracting software? You need time. So when I Googled this, just to put in, I use DocuSign, and I'll talk about DocuSign later. But when I did my research on this, I literally just Googled online signature contracts. And I came up with literally thousands and thousands of different companies that do this. And so what you need to do is, before you even start that process of looking to see what is the right company for you, there's some things you need to think about. A lot of times it's not just the pricing issue. It's also, how do you do your business? Do you need many signatures throughout the month? So some companies will actually, they charge per signature per month within a parameter, or they'll charge by pages per month within a parameter. So that's one of the questions that you're going to want to know when you're implementing this, sorry. And then you will want to kind of figure out in your mind, how many signatures would you have needed had business been exactly the same as before. And I would add in their growth, because we all know when this is done, you're going to be inundated. People have like what they call the cabin fever, and they want to go out and they want to spend some money. They want to go and get those massages. They want to go get those things done. And so having this ready to go is going to be paramount. And so add that number of how many signatures or how many documents you're going to need, uptick that a little bit for growth, right? The second thing that you're going to look at when you're perusing these different companies is you're going to want to go to their tutorials and their training parts. And what I did, I learned very differently than most people. I'm very, I have to see it, but then I want it written out so I can go back and kind of go through it. So on another point of that though, I love a good chat support. So as these companies are coming up, when you're going to the different pages, a chat box should come up, a support box. You can type in your question. However fast they are on that to answering your question or getting you a person, that's how I grade it. So a lot of what I do online, I do a ton of shopping online. I do a lot of things online. So if it has really super good chat support, I most likely will go with that company, even if it's a little bit more expensive, just because I know I can get a hold of somebody who is, I believe, for the most part, a human, and they can at least direct me. I don't have a lot of patience in going through all the videos and in order. And so I want to, if I have a question, I want to answer it immediately. And so that's how I kind of rank different companies, is on how fast their chat support is and how well they're manning that chat support. If they say, oh, put in your phone number, we'll call you in 24 hours, fired, never will go back. It infuriates me. I don't have the patience for that. Number 3, you're going to look at pricing. And there are companies that they run the gamut. There's, I would say, 0 to 1,000 a month, right? So pricing isn't everything. It's not, you're going to look for the cheapest one, because even though it might be the cheapest one for you, the needs you have and the amount of business you could get if you had it done correctly or with a program that you work with really well, cuts that pricing in half. So whatever you would have paid and you're making back now because you're able to get more people through, or it's ease of use, it's worth it. Again, you get what you pay for. So I would say budget anywhere between $20 to $50 a month. That's about average, about what you pay. I have a real estate firm. Mine is exponentially more expensive, but I do like 1,500, pages a month. So my pricing is going to be different than yours. The other question you're going to ask and you're going to think about is, does this interface with what you're already using? Do you have platforms in place that you're already using and systems that in their information, they already work with that company? Or you'll see one in here that is owned by Dropbox. And so if you're a Dropbox user, this would be maybe a great platform to integrate part of that into, because of the fact that you're already using that. It's easier. You already know how that's going to feel and look when you start working with it. And that'll cut down on that time, the learning curve, right? And number 5, this is just a tip, and I do it for everything that I am learning, or when I'm trying to study for a test, or when I'm trying to learn a whole new system, is I set a timer. I set a timer for when I go and do my searches on Google, so I don't end up in a 3-hour rabbit hole and I'm on a whole different plane than when I started. As I set my timer for 20 minutes, learn something. If it's a good time, I'll get up, and if it's a good transition time, I'll get up, walk around for 3 minutes, and then come back and do another 20 minutes. So that's just like the tip of the week, so you don't end up in these rabbit holes, clear off into no man's land, and you still haven't learned that system that you're paying $40 a month for. And I think that's the problem that comes up with these, is that there is a learning curve that goes along with it. And so people don't implement it because they're afraid that they won't be able to use all the parts of it, and that it's going to take too long to learn it. So if you can set up yourself with a system and a timer of like, this is how I'm going to go about learning this process, then you'll save a lot of time and energy trying to not get lost in the weeds. Okay, so the first one that we're going to look at, I'm looking at my time and make sure I'm not going over, is Digis Signer. They're very basic. They're a $0 to $40 per month. They most of these go through all business industries. Some are more aligned with specific industries than others. They had amazing tutorials. I love their tutorials. They were they had the video, but then their chat came up, and it came out throughout the whole time I was visiting their site. And so I really liked that. Again, you're going to want to be careful in these, because you can get down the rabbit hole of like, learning what API capability is. Almost all of these have that API capability, which is an application programming interface. So that's where your designer, your web designer, your IT person, they'll implement this for large companies. Generally, it's large companies with a lot of different salespeople doing work on those websites. And so those are exponentially more expensive to have. They're $99 to $400, but make sure when you're going through these that you don't accidentally sign up for something like that. That's what that chat is really important for, that chat support, because these companies right now, you know, most of their people are all working online as well at home. Now's a great time to negotiate that price of the 0 to 40, or all of them will give you 30 days free, right? So it's coming back when this is finished. Let's say it's not 30 days you need like, in the future, you're going to be doing this. You don't need it necessarily today, but locking in a price for in the future. Say, hey, you know, it looks like, you know, I don't probably need the 30 days free now, but what I do need is in about 60 days, I'm going to need this to be implementable. Can I make that a different way of timing? Can I try it for 2 months for free? And then sign up then? Ask those questions. And that, you know, a lot of these companies, if you ask the question, they'll make a specific pricing for you. You know, it's a great time to ask for those deals, right? So that's another reason why you'd want to have that really good interface with those companies. The second one that I really liked, and I actually, when I was doing my research, is HelloSign. They actually are owned by Dropbox, but they also have another company called HelloFax. And I've been a member of HelloFax for the beginning, since the beginning of my career. I pay about $4 a month for that. I think now it's $10 a month for the HelloFax. So getting in on that, I get better deals. I forgot they actually did the signature site too until I started researching this. And I loved it because theirs is a little bit more expensive. It's $13 to $120 a month. And I totally think that depends on where you land. I think they are the ones who do the per page, that they charged per page. So that might be very negotiable. Again, it's across all business industries. What I do love about them is that they work very closely with a lot of the apps you already have. You have the G Suite or Google Docs or Gmail. If you're in Salesforce, it works really well with those. Most of the big people, they work really, really well with other CRMs, but this one specifically noted that it already is integrated with the G Suites. And so most people use those or have access to that. So that might be a really good one to check out because you already have those apps that you're already using. Again, it's owned by Dropbox. So if you're a Dropbox user and you know how to work that system and you love it, this might be a really good alternative because you are a Dropbox user, or maybe you're a paid user on that, you might get a better deal for the HelloSign. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at these different companies. What are you using now that you can implement into this? So in mine, I use DocuSign, and we'll get to DocuSign. And I work with a company that has all of my forms. It's called Zip Forms, and that's where they upload from. The other part of all of this is, with that said, if you have an industry that already has forms made, it would be worth it to look at using that company that already has your forms created. So you're not reinventing the wheel and having something done that is, it's already been done, it's already been looked at and tried. And that might save you a lot of time. So you don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't start this because I don't even have the forms. Do some research on that and see if your industry already has a forms online. That's a great question for these companies. Hey, are my forms, do you know a company that already does that and you work with really well? I'm admitting somebody. Okay. And as we go, if you have questions, go ahead. I can't see it because I'm doing this, but you can put them in the chat. And then when we're kind of done, we can go through those questions. It's somewhat complicated, but it will definitely put your business in a new level if you can get to having it all online. Okay. Next. Uh-oh, why is it not let me do that? There we go. Okay, so this is the creme de la creme of your signing pages is DocuSign. I do love DocuSign. I do not get paid to endorse them in any way or any of these companies. I'm not getting anything out of it. They're just over years what I've noticed and what I have had to work with. I would say they're about a $10 to $40 per month. My husband, I think he pays, I asked him and he was like, I think it's $25 a month. And he does all of his business off of it. And so that's a great, and he loved it as well because of the fact that it is really super easy to use. It, again, goes over all business industries. Its usability is really good. And because they're easy to use, they are a little bit more expensive. They also have a way of making it your CRM. Almost all of these you can do that as well, but they actually have it more as a legitimate CRM. You can track all your transaction, what you're doing, and where you at, and set up deadlines. So it'll remind you that, hey, you need to send this document to this person at this time. It will also tell you, most of these will tell you when people have opened them. They do have a great app. That's what I like about them the most, is that I literally could be, if I had a gym and I was open, the gym was open, I could be on the treadmill and I could send things out and sign them through my phone. So that's the part of it that I really, really enjoyed. And I still do, and that it tracks where things are going. The other beautiful thing about DocuSign is it has a feature where you can do the sign and pay. So again, if you're in a business situation where you're scheduling people and you want to have them sign your contract and pay, it can do all of that at the same time. So that's one of the beautiful things about DocuSign is it has a lot of, it hits a lot of boxes, and you could do so much more with it, even beyond just the digital signature part that is needed. It just costs a little more. So I'm going to talk about the bad part of DocuSign, of my experience. My experience has been, they have really great tutorials. They have really good videos. They have a lot of articles. Finding a human is a little bit harder. And so because they're super easy to work with, I haven't ever had to really talk to a human before. So that's been the good part of it. The bad part is if you have an issue with your billing or anything, it's a little bit more cumbersome to get to them. And that's like when you're at that higher level and you're paying like $1,500 a year to have it, they're a little bit more, they're harder to get a hold of. That would be the only thing that I would say is a downside to that. Is there any questions? Does anybody have anything that they want to kind of go over?
Well, hey, Darcy, if I could let you know of a good experience I have with DocuSign.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I had some borrowers that it's one of those things where it's like down to the wire to get this loan. For those who don't know, I'm a mortgage guy. Anyway, to get this loan closed on a Friday, of course, it's 4:30. and the lender comes back and wants 2 documents, 2 letters of explanation signed. So I get the borrowers on the phone. Well, one guy's driving to Swan Island, and his wife's driving to Tillamook. I'm like, well, how are we supposed to do this? Well, I found the forms, used DocuSign, attached the signature date part on them, shot him off. He did it on his phone, she did it on her phone, done. So it saved the loan, got him back to the lender, and it was nice. So DocuSign is a godsend. That's why I agree with Darcey. It's the creme de la creme.
It helps. It is. It's very it's fairly easy, user friendly. What I would also say about integrating this into your business, find a trusted friend, business partner that you can practice on. So once you decide that you're going to, give the 30-day free trial to one of these companies, have a friend that you can send those documents to and be able to send them to yourself to practice signing, so you see what your clients are going to be looking at and how easy is it for them to find it. A lot of these, if they're not, they don't have an account with them, they're going to go to their spam folder. And so you have to call your client, tell them it's in their spam folder. So if you know all of that ahead of time and how it will look to your client when they get it to sign it, that will help you be able to train that client and to teach them and say, hey, and I always say this, hey, I'm going to send you those docs out right now. Check your spam folder. That's probably where it'll go. And a lot of these, what I love is that it tells you when they open it. So if somebody says, oh, I never got that, you can go, well, according to this, it looks like you received it, you read it, but you didn't sign it. So, do you need to resend that? And so it keeps people, I think, on track. If you're in an industry where it's easy for people to cancel or reschedule, this cuts down on that exponentially. It was very interesting. I talked to a person who owns a car lot, and I said, how much of this can you do online before you actually really have to see people? And he's like, I'm not positive. I think I can pretty much, there's only 2 forms I need in real life that I need them to see. So there's a lot online already being done. Houses are sold online all the time and bought online all the time. Those companies right now aren't selling and buying those houses right now. They're not, because they're investor driven. They're driven by the stock market. All of that has halted. And so I was talking to my car person, and I said, so what do they do differently that you do? And he goes, well, they offer that people can bring back their car in 5 days. And I said, but you can, and he goes, I know. I said, well, what if you had a fee and they could bring it back like in 3 days? And he's like, that would be perfect. A couple $100 fee, I come and pick my car up. If I don't like it, I can bring it back. A virtual buying experience. And so those things are happening right now. I had another client, I had somebody I know say, hey, I was going to, maybe go and have it sold online where they just pay you for the house. And all of that has halted right now. So understand that there is opportunity in this market to go digitally and really take advantage of the fact that these big companies that are doing those kinds of things can't really compete right now. You're local, you're here, and if you can have a contract go to somebody quickly and get paid on it, it's a great time to do that. Any other questions, or I know some people.
Darcey, this is Brad Smith. I got a question for you.
Hi, Brad.
We use, we're in property management. We use for rental agreements and stuff that are pre-printed forms from Metro multifamily housing. Mm-hmm. How does that work with DocuSign if it's a copyrighted type of document?
So I do that all the time. I will upload a document because people say, hey, I want you to sign this form. And it's like something dumb, whatever, like a book, whatever. Nails, let's say getting my nails done. They want me to sign the form saying, yes, I'm going to come in. You can upload all your own documents. And if it's been legally looked at by, and I always tell people, make sure that your document that you're using, if you're in business, you should have a business lawyer that looks over all the forms that you go and just to verify that they're legal and that they're written correctly. You can upload any document you want, and you can tell people, like, you direct them to what to sign and where to sign. They sign it, it comes back to you, you sign your part. I always sign myself last, so I see everything that they did, or if I see a mistake, I can fix it. But yeah, those, you can upload those and send them out. And if you already have those forms, you're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, we have multiple forms that we use from them, and then some that we've created ourselves that don't cover that kind of stuff. I just wondered if, I guess since we're purchasing them from them to use, that there's not a copyright issue on our end if we copy something that we've purchased from them.
Right.
Or is that something I need to ask them?
You can ask them. I would do that just to cover yourself. I use zip forms, and so zip forms uploads all of the real estate forms for Oregon and whatever state, and nationally and what I need and so forth. And those have already gone through the real estate agency. So you might check with the, yeah, I can't see where you wouldn't be able to do that, but I would ask if that makes you feel more comfortable. I know a lot of landlords that do that. You send them out because it's just easier. And especially now, you're going to have to, because you can't necessarily see people in person until.
Right. I mean, it's basically, that is the last link other than someone trying to pay rent in cash, which we're trying to eliminate. But that's the last link of ever really having to see someone face to face.
I sell houses all the time. People ask me, they're like, oh, people never buy a house online that they've never seen. I'm like, all the time, all the time. And especially because we're in the Silicon Forest here, a lot of my clients are coming from all over the country. They, are not going to fly out every time to see a house. So I've been doing virtual showings for 8 years before it was ever anything cool. And so everything's going to go this way anyway. Might as well get all of those things out of the way before the tide comes, because it's going to come where people are, they're going to be forced to move, Brad, right? They're going to either get where they can't live where they are now, or they're going to want to buy a house. They're going to want, those things are always going to be there. So now's a great time to do that. And you can practice on people before you actually send it to an actual client to make sure that it works perfectly and get the bugs out. Any other questions? Or, what we did not do is we didn't go around and everybody introduce themselves and what their business is. And so I can call on people, I have that capability. Let's see, let's go to, there we go. So Robert, why don't you go ahead and say your name and your company and what you do?
Okay, I'm Robert Groves. I'm a mortgage broker with Minuteman Mortgage in Hillsborough. I help people refinance homes or get qualified to buy homes. That's what I do.
Oh, excellent. All right. Jen?
I am Jen Little, brand manager for the Hillsborough Chamber.
Excellent. Lee, I'll unmute you.
There we go. I am Lee Gokenauer from Gokenauer Photography, commercial and headshot photography.
Excellent. And do you see a value in being able to do this? I know we've talked.
Yeah, I was going to comment, but I didn't want to. That right now, I mean, I email a contract, hope they print it, sign it, and then hope that they send me my deposit, right? I think that last one you mentioned with DocuSign, where I can send them my contract, they sign it, it jumps them to my online system where they pay their deposit, and it's done. That is definitely something I'm going to jump into, because that seems next level business to me.
Yeah, people I like ease. I like it online.
When it comes to what we do, it's the easier I can make it for a client, the better for retention, right?
Absolutely. You're up, Brad.
There, sorry. Brad Smith, Windsor Properties. We do property management in Hillsborough, Beaverton, Loa. Basically, Washington County is our hotbed, but we're a whole Portland metro area. And we are shockingly renting houses right now. It's been actually pretty busy, which is something we would have never thought. So
interesting. So why do you think that's happening?
I don't know. But I think because if you're moving right now, there's a reason. You're not being evicted, which is, because you can't be. So you're moving for a job, or you're, a temporary, your house is being built or something like that. So most of the applications that we're getting right now are good ones, which is, you usually got to weed through a bunch. So we're just happy to be staying afloat. So it's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see who else is on here. Let's see. I see, let's let Deanna talk. This is her show.
Hi, Deanna Palm, Chief Luggage Carrier for Darcey Edwards. That's my job, my role. My
Is what?
Chief Luggage Carrier for Darcey Edwards.
No.
We're not traveling these days, so the load's been lightened. Darcey, thank you for participating in this program. It's really important. I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea in terms of thinking how they transition their business and transact their business through these types of forms and electronic processes. But I think more and more people, as they understand sort of the new reality, will be looking at these tools. I mean, look at Zoom, right? A month ago, none of us really knew how to use it other than Darcey and Matt. And so we've all, had to learn how to transition our lives differently and our business differently. And I do think that this is going to be an important part of that transition.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting how things have sped up really fast, and people are having to learn on the fly how to do these things. And I will offer my services if you end up getting a program and you're getting stuck on it. I'm happy to answer questions and kind of lead you through that as much as I can. And then I think there's Olga. Are you here? Are you on? I unmuted you. All right. Olga, are you there? I think she's just listening.
It's
Okay.
actually showing that she doesn't have audio.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I'll mute all. Back. Okay. So any other questions about specifics on digital signing? Like I would say, the other part of that I didn't go over really is the security part of it, is that you need to have your security in place, because understand any online platform is going to be hacked, right? So you want to have your documents back up multiple places. And then also, like I said for Brad, have a lawyer peruse it, make sure it's okay for the general public, and that it, meets all the state and regional rules that are in place. And the beautiful thing about DocuSign is none of these are actual legal. I mean, it's a legal contract if it's signed, right? But they don't really care what you are uploading. They're not looking at that. They're looking at how many times did you use that form, how many pages or how many signatures, how much time are you taking, and that's how they charge on those platforms. So if you have any questions about Zoom or Zoom, I can help you with that. And then also DocuSign or any of those other platforms, I'm happy to talk to you about those. Any other questions? Oh. There you go. You're
All right,
unmuted.
thank you. So all that talking with no sound coming out, actually, always beneficial. I'm just curious about the legality. So any of these contracts that you fill out with this electronic process, they'll hold up in a court, right?
Ish. Well, so any lawyer you talk to will say everything can be fought, right? They hold up in a court of law. It depends on like the jurisdiction and what your level of legality is. That's why I say you have a business lawyer on your payroll. Like I have my forms that I have for my team all go through my lawyer, who looks at that form and says, hey, you know, A, you have about 3 typos, which is usually the fact, or the way you wrote that sentence left you open. It left a loophole. So I always say to have, and it's not very much money. Actually, I was going to bring over the chamber book that we just got, our member directory. And in there is your business lawyers. So call them and ask, hey, I just need this form looked at, you know, how much is that going to cost? Or, and I did that for my company, for my team. I don't know, it wasn't even $300. It was very reasonable to get those things looked at. That's where your legality comes in, where it will hold up. If it's like, in my case, it's the Oregon Real Estate Association, their forms, they've been through legal counsel. That's the legal form that you use for those transactions. So they are valid and they're legal. DocuSign, all those companies, they will, you know, say like, we're not in charge if it's legal or not.
So you go through your regular processes, and if you do that and and it's approved by an attorney, then you have every possibility that it's, you know, it's considered a legal document and an electronic signature. Got it. Thank you.
To be honest, in real estate or in any other thing, a text is illegal because it's in writing.
So I think to make that clear, that DocuSign and these things aren't specifically about the form. They're saying that it's a legal signature. The form is up to you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have to create.
One of the companies we looked at for each signature that is signed, it timestamps it and it stamps the URL where it's coming from. And there were multiple, you know, it doesn't actually show that, but if you pull up the actual signature number that they would assign to it, it gives you all this documentation of, you know, so you could backtrack it all the way to find out where it was signed. And
yep. And DocuSign actually on ours, because we have to actually have stuff time stamped, like date and time, which is dumb because it's so archaic now, but it does it, and it will send you, it's called the transaction. The transaction. So it'll tell you like when everybody signed in and signed and how and all of that. So it is pretty, you know, legal standing. But I actually, like I said, forms that doctors want me to fill out, I'll put them in my scanner, throw them through DocuSign and fill them out that way. And then I just PDF it and send it to them because they can't read my handwriting anyway. So it actually saves me a lot of time and effort trying to reprint stuff out. And I just do it all through DocuSign, most of my stuff anyway. So it's just an easy way to do it. And if you can get the pay part in there and they can do everything at once, do your deposit after they fill out your form, you know, if they're at that point where, you know, they've been accepted and you're like, okay, this is the final, oh, by the way, here's the invoice for the first month and you can pay it here. That's going to just make it so much less headache and so much smoother transaction for you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and the thing too, like for a photographer, if they do a deposit or a rental, if they do a deposit, it's a lot less likely that they're going to cancel or say, oh no, never mind, I don't really want that one or whatever. You have that, you kind of have them in. And once people have put skin in the game and put money down, they're less likely to change their mind. because it's a hassle or it's a fee to do that. That's like what I was saying with the car. I'm like, so if they take it for 3 days, but you charged them an extra $200, which you could add that into the cost of the car easily. What are the chances? How many times do they bring it back? And he goes, well, by the time that happens, they've already know exactly what they want. And generally, if it's a brand new car, like he deals in brand new cars as well, they've already done a lot of research. They know what they want. I could see a lot of these things going to the way of being basically purchased sight unseen. Housing is already like that and has been for a while, to be honest. So there's a lot of areas where they can do that. A cleaning company, that would be perfect. You have it, you have the form that they sign that they want, what work they want done. I have a cleaner that does that, that sends a whole menu basically of items that I can choose for that house to get cleaned in, and I just X off what I want. And so I send that back to them and they know exactly what to do. So it's all there. It's just implementing it and putting the forms, and they created all their own forms for that. So if you have the forms already through the housing, I know those have gone through a lawyer already. I'm almost positive they have. So any other questions or comments? All right, we got a little extra early done.
So I'll just take a minute to talk, first of all, thank you again, Darcey. We have our small business series coming up for the rest of the week. So tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we have our small business roundtable featuring Brad Smith and Elizabeth Case. This is just an opportunity to hear from small businesses in terms of challenges, opportunities, things that they might have questions, or to share successes as well. So please be sure to join us for that. And then on Thursday from 10 to 11, we have Debbie Page, who is a small business cash flow expert. So if your small business is experiencing difficulties with cash flow, please join us on that call. Next week we have planned out, and I won't remember all of them because I'm old and tired, but I think we have somebody from the U.S. Chamber, and we have a CFO. Is that right, Brad? Is that the week after? Is that next week?
Oh, you're muted. You can talk.
I think it's the end of next week, but
Yeah, so we'll send out the schedule for, we tried to get the week set in advance. So on Friday, we'll send out information about what the next 3 programs will be the following week. We've also added in something new. It's called Tuesday Night Takeout. So today, if you've received a link to and want to participate, we're all going to have dinner together at 6 o'clock. So go to your favorite takeout restaurant, bring takeout, come back to your home office or wherever you're zooming in from, and zoom in together. And all we'll ask is for appropriate eating habits as we have a conversation and just really talk about how things are going. This is really low key. So I would advise you also, if your takeout restaurant allows for beer and wine distribution, to take advantage of that as well. So we wanted this to be sort of a bit of a relaxing opportunity. We're going to do this every week to hopefully stimulate folks going out, doing takeout, and then coming together and having meals together, because that's one of the things that, the Chamber, we're all about eating and drinking, and we haven't been able to do any of that with any of you. So we're in desperate need to do that. So please join us.
The other part of that is, if you do that, make sure it was funny. We had I had an earlier BNI meeting today, and they were talking about etiquette on Zoom and how, people forget that they have the business on top and the party below, or no pants. And that's happened twice, where people got up and walked away, not even thinking about it, and they didn't have pants on. So I would say wear your pants.
That's a great suggestion. It is that we want to get to know our Chamber members really well, but that's a line we don't need to cross. In this new type of setting, wear pants. That's all we would ask for. Yeah,
please.
Simple.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Darcey.
All right, take care. If anybody needs anything, I'm happy to help you.
Thank you.
All right.